putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Protesting is...
Congressman, I want you to get to respond to something that the president said last night during this rally in Pensacola, Florida. Let's listen.
This is a rigged system. This is a sick system from the inside. And, there's no country like our country, but we have a lot of sickness in some of our institutions, and we're working very hard. We've got a lot of them straightened out, but we really do. We have a rigged system in this country, and we have to change it. Terrible.
It's rare to hear a sitting president speak about the government in this way. What's your reaction to what you just heard from President Trump?
Well, there are many things about the system that are rigged. They're rigged in favor of people like President Trump, very wealthy people who have a lot of power in Washington. The Republicans just passed a tax bill which reflects that. Huge tax cuts for the top 1%. The expenses will be borne by middle-class families who will see their taxes go up. Companies will be incentivized to ship American jobs overseas. And it was written in part by the lobbyists. You remember the Republicans, they had handwritten notes in the bill, and the lobbyists had the provisions before many members of the Senate did. So the president's right. In many ways, the system is rigged, but it's rigged against hardworking Americans who are looking for better wages, better jobs, and a better future. And the president is fighting really hard to get Roy Moore into the Senate because this tax bill is prevailing by 1 or 2 votes. Susan Collins says she's reconsidering. So, look, the president's right, but he's speaking. He describes the system as rigged, somehow rigged against him. It's rigged against working people who don't have a voice.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. The reason why I wanted to play this clip, that was Representative David C. Saline. And what's funny about what he says is he doesn't answer the question. He doesn't want to answer the question. The guy says, is the system, Trump says the system is rigged. Donald Trump is talking about the system being rigged against the everyday American, where there's a dual level of justice system. For example, Hillary Clinton should be in prison. We all know that. Barack Obama should be in prison. Susan Rice, Mueller, Comey, on down the line. All these people. And you know what they're doing? They're making millions of dollars off of you. Insider trading. The level of corruption inside of our government rivals third world corruption. The only difference is we've learned how to just kind of gloss over it and say and ignore it. And that's what the left does. Okay, Harvey Weinstein was allowed to sexually harass women. Why? Because he paid for it. Kevin Spacey. Look at John Conyers. Look at Grijalva. Look at all the left. Alcee Hastings. All these people now that they're finding out who have paid, and they've paid your tax dollars, or they've given somebody a high-level position so they can do whatever they want. But he says, no, that's not it. The tax cuts, that's what the rig is. Oh, really? So what they want, what this guy does is typical Democrat thing. He doesn't want to address what Donald Trump's really doing here, which is saying, you've been getting hosed. He's fixing that. Let me ask you a question. Stock market's going through the roof. 24,000 and change. No signs of really slowing down. How much money does Donald Trump have in the stock market? You think his kids are invested in the stock market? Are they winning? Is anybody in the Trump universe winning at a time when he is absolutely knocking it out of the park? No. They've told you Donald Trump himself, they say he's lost $1 billion. What do you think Donald Trump would be doing if he were a private citizen right now and he saw the president doing what he's doing? Donald Trump would be feasting. He'd be making billions of dollars. All these leftists who are complaining, Jeff Bezos is getting richer under Donald Trump. It's not you. The guys who are feasting are the guys who can take advantage of it at the top, and it's the George Soroses of the world, the Warren Buffetts, the Jeff Bezos, the Microsofts, Bill Gates. All these leftists are feasting, and then they get their surrogates to come down there and go, but it's terrible for the middle class. Look at what's... And they don't really care. They don't care about the middle class. It's a ruse. I was talking to the driver that took me to the studio the other day to do Fox Business, and I explained the rules of education. He says to me, Kevin, you got to admit the professors are better at Ivy League schools. They push out better students. And I told him, I said, let me tell you how they do it. They tell you it's Ivy League. They make it difficult to get into. They tell you, no, we only want the best. So they go out and they handpick the best. Where does the best? Does the best want to go to junior college? No, the best go to the best schools, or what we perceive to be the best schools. I said, but let me tell you what I can explain to you about the best students at any school. They're the best students no matter what school you put them in. If you take the top 10% of the Ivy League students, you put them at Ohio State or Alabama, whatever, or Arizona State or Texas State or whatever, those people will still be the top students in their classes. They will still outperform the Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Wharton. They will outperform them all. If you're smart, you're smart. Doesn't matter where it is, but the other schools entice you. Our reputation is such and such. Look at our professors. Their professors are no brighter than some of these other professors. Don't misunderstand me. The Ivy Leagues can make some incentives to bring the best professors over. There's no question. They now have the market on the top professors. But don't believe for a second that your kid can't go learn from a PhD at a state school and be just as good. It's just not the case. So it's an infinite loop. But here's what's the most interesting about the education system is they know it's classist. They know it's racist. They know it's sexist. They know it's all those things, and nobody does anything about it. If you were to go up to the average leftist and say, well, let me ask you this. What's more prestigious, Ivy League or a state school? They're going to tell you, an Ivy League school. And you go, well, really? Isn't that unfair? And see what they say. Shouldn't everything be fair? So what this guy wants you to believe is that the system has been rigged to Trump. The blue-collar billionaire, the guy who's losing money, the guy who was never supposed to make it. It's been he's the one that's taking advantage of all this stuff. There was I don't know if we have time to play the clip. Let's play it. If we run out of time, we just do. But this is Lou Dobbs connecting the dots on Strzok, the guy who did all the investigations against Donald Trump.
A few in the special counsel and his lead investigator, who was, before all else, it appears, an anti-Trumper, Robert Mueller and Peter Strzok, obviously thought they were under no compunction to be fair, to be honest, to be decent. And now it's clear that Mueller thought he could remove Strzok as his head investigator and never have to answer a single question about the reason he did so. Congress is now making it clear that he will have to answer. And, by the way, make that reasons, not reason. It's far more than one. The devout anti-Trumper was chosen to help lead the Clinton email investigation starting in July of 2015. He was central, in fact, to discussions about whether to prosecute Hillary Clinton. Strzok was also asked to work on Comey's draft statement, the purpose of which was to exonerate Clinton. Fox has learned that Strzok is responsible as well for changing the language in that statement from grossly negligent. Had that expression been used, there would have been no choice but to prosecute. Instead, Strzok came up with the two, very innocent words, extremely careless, a device to exculpate Mrs. Clinton. Just weeks after the Clinton investigation, Strzok was assigned by the FBI to investigate Russian efforts to interfere in the presidential election, including the DNC hack, which, by the way, the FBI wasn't permitted to actually investigate, and Strzok apparently agreed with the DNC that they would just take somebody's word, the fact that Russians were involved in their servers at the DNC. Strzok's influence reached even the anti-Trump dossier, that discredited dossier, and Strzok became one of a dozen FBI officials who actually received the dossier. And then Strzok was assigned to oversee interviews of General Michael Flynn. Are you starting to see a string of coincidences here and massive contamination of the entire process by an anti-Trump FBI official? Well, the Inspector General's office thinks so. It's investigating Strzok's role in politically sensitive cases, but he's hardly the only one with massive conflicts of interest.
So the system is rigged, all right, and it's rigged in favor. Forget who it's rigged against. It's rigged in favor of these elitists. And every time we put more and more of them into power, up until this point where we finally said, okay, enough is enough. But every time we put more and more of them into power, they write new rules that let them get out of stuff. They are lawyers and understand how to parse language so that they can stay out of prison.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.